Because like you don't really like you post it on yours, but like with Equal Eats, like you don't post that.
No.
So for me it was like I was just like, let me just see it, and I was like, oh my god, it's actually really good.
Thanks.
And I felt so I felt like empowered. Like
Awesome.
I was like, oh yeah, Foodology does rock.
Yeah, it's very selfless music. It is for our community.
Yeah, and you write your own music.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love it.
But that's the Gemini in me. I've got two hats, and I keep them very separate.
I'm
Creative.
surprised that like you've kept it going though, because I'm very much like I pick up one hobby and I leave it, and then pick up one hobby and I leave it. So it's...
Food allergies rock. Food allergies rock. To tell you the truth.
So you have good a voice.
Warming up.
I'm not.
I've got morning voice right now.
Welcome to Behind the Allergy, a podcast all about allergic conditions, hearing open and honest insights from the people who are behind them, from allergy reactors to freeform brands to allergists. This episode is with Kyle Dine, founder of Equal Eats. Kyle is the food allergy assembly guy. He is a performer, educator, musician, entrepreneur, puppeteer, and speaker. On top of all of that, he founded Equal Eats, Allergy Translation Cards, and your passport to safe dining. He is an anaphylaxis reactor and uses his experiences to educate and inspire others. He has performed at over 900 schools, released 2 CDs, You Must Be Nuts and Food Allergies Rock. But most important thing to him is raising awareness and education about food allergies. I hope you enjoy the episode and go away learning more about his story behind the allergy. Kyle, welcome to Behind the Allergy.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we just were talking about like being personal and being open, and it's hard to find like the intricacies of who you are as a person online, which is so funny because we have talked so much one-on-one, whether it be like on Zoom together or, personal online. So I feel like I know you, but then when I was trying to do my research, it didn't feel like I couldn't get to know you really through social media. Is that on purpose?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very on purpose.
Okay.
And it's been a funny road with social media and me. Like I have a love-hate relationship with it. And it really got me established in the start. I really connected with the allergy community and used them as a sounding board and for support. And they really helped me get my music off the ground. It wouldn't have happened without them. So early on, I really put myself out there. And I think it was just a few instances where I felt like I got burnt and judged, where it just started to feel not so nice. So I really retreated. And I think it was about the time that I had a child and started posting things like just fatherhood and parenting, and starting to get a lot of negative on just styles of how we all take that on. And at that point, I was like, maybe I'm oversharing. So I really started to retreat from social media, and I'm really happy that I did. And I started to focus on more, aligning the business and marketing messages with social media. So that's kind of where I view it. But I'm starting to get back more and more and feeling more comfortable with it. Sharing more of myself. But I think it's not for everybody in terms of deep personal sharing.
That's true. And I think as well, maybe your business could probably has helped you come out of your shell a little bit, because you can hide a little bit behind like the name, and it's not your name. So it basically, if anyone does attack you, it's not attacking you as a person, it's attacking your brand, which you have lots of facts and you've done lots of research and you've got a whole company behind you. And that's how I've experienced that in the past, where sometimes the allergy community is so comforting, and it can be such a safe space, but then sometimes people who don't know you and have just found you for the first time or anything can say things that make you go, oh, what am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? Am I sharing something that I shouldn't be sharing? And it can sometimes feel like a bubble until it gets burst. And I've definitely experienced that in the past. And I think the people that I've seen that have been here since the very beginning, I don't even think I'm one of them, and I've been on it for 9 years. So I think that we've all had to take some sort of breaks and some sort of a step back at times, because it's longevity, and the people who share a lot, usually fade out fast because they realize that like this is actually quite a scary place if you let everybody in on everything. So there is a line to be towed.
It's a balance, and I find almost like I'm like the Wizard of Oz in ways. Like the brand is brand image and brand message, and essentially that message is my message. It's coming through my voice, through a brand, but it's not really identified with me. And I think the more and more I put myself out there and align my personal being with the brand identity, people are starting to see this isn't just this company, that there's people really behind it. It's authentic, it's genuine. So I realize the benefits and I get pushed all the time. Kyle, you need to be out there more. And it's just part of my journey. I know a lot of founders are just, hey, I'm the brand and listen to me. And I'm just not that guy yet. So I'm working on it and taking the steps to be more public in terms of alignment with the brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I started this podcast, because I realized over time that the more I knew a brand, the more I'd invest in them. So there are companies who are massive and everybody loves them, but I don't know who founded it. I don't know who's running it. I don't know why they started it. And I can't really trust them, especially when it comes to food, because I want to know why you're nut free. And if you're not telling me the story, then I'm not sure if I can trust you, because I feel like you're just doing it then for, because it's in right now and everyone's nut free and you want to do it as a marketing ploy. So there's companies like Creative Nature who like I'm obsessed with their food, and I know everyone in that, like I know the heads of that company. And there's been times where I said, well, I can't have this product because it has this allergen in it, like I won't be able to eat this line. They've taken that allergen out. And I'm not saying it's only me. I'm not saying, but it's the listening and talking to the community because they're in the community. And I think when you know that the person behind that company, that, that food service, anything, it allows you to feel more trusting. But also if they're in that community, I know that they get it. And that is like the biggest thing. And so like by you sharing your story on Equal Eats, not only is it, a terrific company with a great message, it's coming from somebody who gets it. And then I can go, oh, you understand, you've been doing it for a long time. You've had allergies your whole life. You get it. I'm trusting you.
Absolutely. And I'm getting a lot of great positive pushes and support to go in that direction. We have a new social media manager, Cataline Varela, who is known as Celiac in Italy. And she could just live on camera. Like she's just very open and public. And she gives me so many good supportive pushes, like, more, you need to do this. So, it's a problem of being an introvert. And, a lot of founders start a business wanting to be the next Elon Musk and just, big personality. I'm not that. I started a company to help our community, and I really double down on process and making sure that the products are safe and accurate. So for me, that is number one. And then to actually put myself into this different role, it literally feels like a different job for me, where it's okay, that is influencer, and that's scary for some people. I know it's natural in the world of social media. So warming up to it, getting a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah. I also think we were talking about astrology earlier, and that we're both Geminis. Everyone thinks that I'm an extrovert. Like I'm very outgoing, I'm very bubbly, but a lot of it is a mask. I am very introverted. I think I'm both, because I can put it on if I need to. I've wanted to be an actor, and I'm very good. But we have these like two lives, these twins in us, that we want to do everything, but we also just need some time to rest and to recoup. And that for me is the hardest thing to tell people, because they think that I can just turn it on, but I have so much anxiety and I get so nervous being social. If I go, even the allergy show that we're going to go to this weekend, I'm terrified. Like I'm always like, guys, if you see me, come up to me, because I will never come up to you. Like I will never put myself in that position to address somebody I don't know, who I've only met online. Like you need to come up to me. And I can understand that, of feeling like, well, I wanted to build a business. I didn't want to build me. Like I didn't want to show me online. But I think the way I look at it is the business is built because of you. And by you showing up will allow the business to flourish even further.
Yep.
And then that means, and there are times where the business is going to be so big that you don't even need to be there anymore. But it's that building up.
Absolutely.
To get there is, we need story.
Yeah,
everyone needs a story.
Yeah, you really did your research. I love it. I'm really hard to find online, and there's a reason you really found that out. And yeah, I think with introverts, and for anybody listening, I heard a great analogy that introverts have essentially 5 coins to spend every day on social activity, and every interaction is a coin spent. And when you've depleted your 5 coins, you're done. And you just need that alone time. So, I've got 5 very big, strong coins. I can bring it. And then I just like alone time. So doing a public post of me, that's probably 5 coins right there.
And yeah, I completely get that. You mentioned that you have a child.
Yeah.
And I wondered, how did you change your mind on allergies, or did you, when you had a child?
Absolutely. I think the best example of the shift in mindset after being an individual with multiple life-threatening allergies, being somewhat cavalier at times, especially teenager, but getting better over time. It was literally just after my daughter was born, I started wearing a helmet snowboarding. And I think that says everything in terms of I need to protect myself more. And that came right back to food allergy too, that I need to be a better person staying safe because I have someone I'm very responsible for now. So I've taken it to a different level just because of my own self-care, and people rely on me. And it's been very rewarding, and I try to be very balanced with how I present allergies to her. She does not have allergies. Somehow, my wife has celiac disease, and I've got the allergies, so we were expecting everything. And yeah, luckily nothing happened, and still nothing. And we have a healthy household of trying to keep anxiety in check, where I don't really like being around my allergens, but I know that she needs them. So right now, I'm sure they're having a Nutella party at home with me out from the house. But I do think it's healthy that she's not scared of my allergens. I know that she's very overprotective because she sees some of my anxieties come out with even, glasses and straws and shared things. She's on it at 8 years old. She will make sure that she's not sharing things with me. And then I just really try to dampen. It's just there's a risk, but we've got it. It's all under control, because I think with that type of allergy anxiety, it can start to cross over into life anxiety. So really just being conscious of, even though we have 2 toasters in our house and all of these crazy systems of colored cutting boards, just trying to normalize it, that we're good, we're fine, and we're balanced. We just take a couple extra steps that normal families or other families don't do.
Yeah. In my research, I notice one major thing that I think we have in common, but it's sometimes hard for me because I do have anxiety, that your mindset is so different to a lot of people. And I do think that is because you've had allergies for so long, that it's up and down and it's wavering, and this is your life. It's never been any different. It's just your life. Yeah. So you have to, either you're going to crumble and fall, or you're going to rise and take the challenge. Yeah. For me, is how I choose to it. But we have had allergies since we were children. Yeah. So I feel like that is it. But there are people who are new to allergies. There's parents who are new to allergies that don't have that same resilience because it's never been their life. I'm my mom took me at 3 months old when I had allergies, and she took me to New Zealand. I have never had a life where I didn't go anywhere. Are there any tips to help people change their mindset even though they're so afraid?
Sounds like your mom is wonderful, by the way. And acceptance of the condition, I think, is probably a big step that she took, and that I think a lot of people can take. We live in a world now where I'm an 80s baby, where allergies, it was just not a thing, and you've got it, and good luck, walk it off. Now there's options for so many conditions, and I think when you get this diagnosis, your initial thought is, what options do I have? How can I make this better? And this is not a condition that's easily made better at this point in time. There's immunotherapy options, which is really encouraging. I love seeing all of the developments in science. I think people who do are very brave. But it also opens up this door to things can get better. I can make this good. And it's not necessarily the cure. It is building tolerance. It's letting you have a little less anxiety, but it's still there. And people ask me all the time, would I ever consider doing a treatment like this? And it comes back to that fact of acceptance. I've accepted that I have food allergies, and I don't have the time. I can't even take my vitamins every day, let alone a dose of peanuts. I'll be honest.
That's so
I'm a
real.
bit of a mess.
No, but that's so real. Same
Right.
as me. I'm like, did I do it? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that would add a different level to me of managing allergies, where it's much more top of mind. Right now, I know my strategies to stay safe. I'm very particular with food. I read every ingredient list. I ask a ton of questions at restaurants, and it's normal. That's my shtick. And accidents happen, but they're usually because of me letting my guard down. So the fact that I can accept and know that I have strategies in place to always be safe. And I had a reaction a few weeks ago, and I rocked it, and I'm fine. And it's all because I know I know the symptoms, I know what to do, and here I am. So I think for anybody starting out, yeah, look at what's available, because there might be options for you, but also connect with the community and people that have done this for a long time, because I think there's a lot of wisdom and advice that can just bring you down to a level of, you've got this and you can do this.
Sometimes I wonder if, because we're so aware with allergies and there are so many people with them, we now expect it to be different, like the world to be different, the world to accept us. We have way more policies in place, so we expect like the people will be different in reaction to us. But I grew up in a time where they didn't believe me. Yeah. They thought it was false, that there was no option to eat out properly and safely. Like there might be one or two restaurants where my mom felt like they understood. I eat at home. I love my food. I'm a good cook because of my allergies. Like there's a lot of things where like I'm happy with the way that my life is, and food plays a part, but it's not my whole life. Yeah. And I love food, and I take the risk when I need to, and I don't when I don't, and I'm happy.
I'm the exact same. I think we have a different relationship with food. And the more that I accept that I'm not a foodie, I'm not around London looking at food places, I'm happy to go to a pub and have a pint. And that's great for me. It fulfills me to have that experience. And then I do food on my own. And I'm very particular with that whole process. But I do think, back to your point, we do have power in numbers now as a community. 80s and 90s babies, we were alone. There was no numbers. It was just good luck out there. And I think there's almost a false sense of security now that there are so many, and we see some progress. We see menus that have, some really positive things on it. But then we hear examples of, even last week with this reaction on an airplane where it was giving a lot of trust to a system that we just assume is going to keep us safe, but we're not there yet. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have right now at this point in time, is that airlines, restaurants, brands may contain labels. None of that is at a point where we can honestly just say, I hope I'm going to be safe. I trust you 100%. And I think we get lost in that mindset, and we need to keep coming back to be vigilant and be your own self-advocate in all situations, because you have to keep yourself safe. And every reaction I've had, I will own it. I'll absolutely own it. I could have done better. I could have been a better self-advocate for me, because I know the system. I know my friends. I know all of these other factors are not looking out for me like I am. And I think that's something that we all, unfortunately, at this point in time, need to just keep in mind, that it's just not there yet. I think the system has good intentions, but geez, there's so much more work to be done.
I think the numbers thing means that we're going to get there faster than I thought we'd ever get there. Yeah. Because, I wrote a post on this. I just turned 32. And when I was younger, I used to cry to my mom, just being like, I really hope I make it to 16.
Mm.
I was like, I could cry now. No. But I was like, at that time in my life, I didn't think I would survive until I was 16. I was like, if I could just get to 16, I'll be happy. I just wanted my sweet 16. Like, I was just a little kid watching American shows, and I just wanted my sweet 16. And I'm now double that age. And it was emotional for me because I was like, I never even thought that I would even get to be 30. And now I'm 32, and I can see myself living until I'm 90. Like, if the way that I live my life now, I could see myself living till I'm older. And that has come from, unfortunately, so many people having allergies. Like, that wasn't even a concept in my life, that like people would have, there would be loads of people in the world having allergies. I thought I would be alone my whole life. I thought I was the only one, honestly, that had that many allergies, because we didn't have social media. The news only told us about, the consequences of having a reaction. I never got to see people who had my same allergies or multiple allergies living a full life. So seeing that, I'm like, oh, how wonderful and how great is the world changing. Like, your company, Spoken, like Fair, they're creating change, which means that life could be easier in my lifetime. Yeah. And I think that's so amazing. But like you said, it's not there yet. And I think that the reason that I am still here is because of all of these things where I don't take the risk. I trust my gut. I think I'm people always say, like, how did you know that person wasn't like very kind, or I'm like, my gut is so sensitive.
Like, we got spider sense.
Yeah, I really I can sense energy in the same way, like, as I can feel a person's understanding about my allergies very quickly. And I go into a restaurant, if it's too busy, I walk out. Like, there's just certain things where I can get the sense of how the waiter talks to me initially, and I'm like, I don't trust you. Yeah. Like, it's like, that might not be true. Maybe they would have been a great waiter if I had taken the time, but I'm not risking that for my life. Yeah. I'd rather just not eat.
It's the red flags, right? That we choose sometimes to ignore and just like, no, it's fine. I'm fine. I don't want to make a big deal. Never ignore the red flags. And you know what? I think it's also just in life too. It's helped me find really bad situations and say, I'm out of here. This is not right. And sometimes it comes off as snooty, but I'm okay walking out of restaurants if it just doesn't add up in my head. I'm like, no, we're gone. Yeah. Out.
And I feel like it's actually a little bit of a superpower for me, like, away from allergies, like friendships and relationships. Trusting your gut with friends. So, like, if they are upset with my allergies, or if they feel embarrassed or they feel burdened, cool, I know that they're not my friend. Yeah. Like, I just know that. Easy. And it feels just like a weight off, and I don't have to wonder or worry if I'm going to be their best friend for life. If they don't care about my allergies and they're not respectful of me talking about my allergies, or they don't want to, go out to the same restaurant every single time we go out, okay, cool, like, don't be my friend.
Regardless of allergies, we've got a thing, and if it's important to us and they don't care about it, they're not our friends.
As I get older and I get to choose my friends, and I get to decide who I want to be around with and who I don't, I get to decide that, and allergies are a really great litmus test for that, and I love it.
I wish we could just talk all night and go to the pub together. I feel like we would talk allergies and through forever.
It's just nice to talk to someone, like I said, who gets it, and I can, like, just having that back and forth. Yeah.
And I think that's the importance of these events, the Free From show, the conferences. Anytime you can connect with other people and open your mind and your way of operating with allergies and just sharing, I find it really valuable.
Yeah. Can we talk about the teenage years?
Sure. Awkward Kyle years?
Yeah, but also the risk-taking years, because I talk a lot about it, and I find it hard to talk about it on social media, but I talk a lot about it with friends, is the fact of how much risk that we take as teenagers, and that it be entirely normal, and that even though we have allergies, we are still teenagers, where we do still think that we are invincible. Yeah. And I know a lot of parents talk to me about how scared they are for when their children get to teenage years, because how do they protect them when they want to be free, and how do they keep them safe knowing that they're going to be out there, peer pressure, things like that. So I was terrible
Me
as a
too.
teenager, terrible. And looking back and going, like, I'm sad for myself of like how much risk I took, but there were things that I still knew not to do.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that was due to my mum pushing it throughout my childhood.
Yeah.
That there were some things I knew not to do, and then there were some things where I took a little bit of liability. Yeah. So yeah, can you talk to me through your teenage years, and like, do you think that we should allow teenagers to take the risk and deal with consequences, or should we be putting more protection on them if they have allergies?
I think having that grounding in knowledge and facts is so important. And I think, parents come to me with the same questions. I'm afraid of the teenage years. And my advice is all you can do is prepare them and make them autonomous and responsible and mindful of this really serious health condition. And it's, it sounds like your mom did a top-notch job, but we're human. And my mom was cutting out the articles, the negative articles in the papers, the fatalities, and just constantly reminding me of my mortality as I got into teenage years. Like, you need to keep taking this seriously. And I knew with my gut the what I could do and what I couldn't do, and always have my epinephrine with me and all these things. My medical alert bracelet, it started to come off during the teenage years, that's for sure. That went missing. And then just took a lot of risks like teenagers do. And it was always driven by the same underlying fact, and that was trying to just fit in and be normal and socialize and not be the odd kid. I just wanted to be an athlete, a musician, and a dude at that point with my buddies. And allergies kind of slowed that down in my head. So I did stay safe. I had quite a few reactions just from making some really mindless decisions. And for me, it was when I was 21, I had my biggie reaction, and it was just terrible. It was a really horrific reaction. And it was my wake-up call to be better. And that changed the trajectory of my life. I wouldn't be doing this allergy music or Equal Eats, any of it. I probably would have just been on the same track of just kind of being careless with allergies. But I think if to get to your question of what would help from a parent perspective, I think it's really that constant, even in the teen years, letting your child know that you are still there and that you care, because it holds you accountable as an individual, that we're not ready to take care of ourselves literally till we're 25 when our brains mature. We're really not. And allergies is a weird thing that we keep trying to push away during those years, and you need to keep pushing it back on us. And we're going to say, no, I've got it, Mom, enough. And you got to just be persistent. And I will say this, not only to the moms are fantastic, but the dads, they need to step up. I think allergy dads across the board need to step up. And we see so many relationships getting hurt because moms are taking it on so much, 100% by themselves. And dads are capable, competent human beings that need to take allergies more seriously. And I know there's all stars for sure. But as a whole, they're very underrepresented in the allergy community. I look at our social media stats for Equal Eats, it's 95% women. 95%. And I'm an outlier. That I know. So I feel like this is a message that I keep wanting to push, and that guys need to step up. And not only just individuals that want to just seem invincible and not vulnerable, but it is okay to have food allergies. And I just want to put that out there to all guys, and especially dads, that the more that you take ownership over the little day-to-day things, checking labels at a very basic minimum, making sure the house is safe, at that point, your kid, through those teenage years, will be safer, because it's a two-pronged attack of pushing them to be better.
It's a collective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem, too, is that it's a one-sided voice coming at teenagers that needs to be more well-rounded. Peers, dads, all of this support helps.
Yeah, and I also think it's gender roles, too, because I think there's times where like the female will be the main household like deciding what to do for dinner, deciding what to pack, like all of that stuff. And when it feels more equal, then that relationship works better. Like, as in, I'm not a relationship coach or anything like that. I'm not even married. But as in but your mom has read that, it's fine, or things like that. No, like you said, take responsibility for checking as well, and making sure that you're both understanding what needs to be done. And then, like the child will then think, well, it's not just my mom being so overprotective, which is a narrative that is too much online or just in our society of the mom is overprotective and the dad is chill. And I think that if we just make sure that like it's both of us, it's not just overprotective, it is just protective. Like this is something that can be serious and life-threatening. And make sure that like everybody is aware of that.
And I didn't think that we'd be going into relationship advice today, but hey, why not? But I do think, it's that early on stages of any relationship, it is so important. It's the give and the take. For me, it is so important to just know the sizes of my daughter's clothing so I can buy her clothing that I like, because I think a lot of it gets taken on by one partner and then the other one can get shut out very easily. And then that door is very hard to open. So I do think it is a give and take, that maybe you don't trust your partner 100% right away, but you need to empower them. You need to keep that faith that they will get it. And I think that's part of the issue too, of that if they're not showing signs of really caring at the start, make them care. Get them on board and don't give up on them, because it just divides.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, and also not a man as well as not a relationship coach, but I think a lot of men, especially when their children are born, in the first few months it's really hard for them to connect to the child because they can't feed them, they can't, it's hard. And by allowing even that process of like making them more involved in the first few months of a child's life, there's more of a connection to the child, and then there'll be more of a connection later on. And like you said, it's the very beginning of stages where things need to happen. Otherwise you'll step into a roles without even thinking about it, and then that will continue on for years to come. It's like conscious thought at the beginning really helps. And like as a nanny, I see that in a lot of my families, and how the roles are, there are some families where I only talk to the mother, and it's like, no, like I need to, there needs to be a relationship of like, talking to both parents, because both of them are involved. And like my family now, both parents are involved, and the children, I can see that in the children, that they know that both families are involved, both parents make the same money, like it's that feeling of a unity rather than one side.
And imagine if that was across society with a regard to perspective about food allergy, because right now we've been around long enough to know this narrative is pretty, we've seen this, and then it gets made fun of, and it gets ostracized and stereotyped. But imagine it was this, everyone just takes it seriously, male, female. I hate to compare it to celiac disease, but there is a different perception of celiac disease compared to food allergy. And that's a part of it, just in terms of how it's represented. And that's just my shtick. I just feel like both sides need to be together as a unified front, and it's going to provide way more support for their kid and our whole community. Yeah. When I started Equal Leads, just that name itself was really important to me, because it came with a philosophy like we all deserve an equal seat at the table. And whether it's food allergy, whether it's celiac disease, or some type of intolerance, we all have our reasons. And who are we to judge? Because sometimes it is a restricted diet due to a cancer treatment. Who knows? And I just think whatever it is, I'm not to judge. Mine's worse than yours. But we all need to come together with dietary restrictions and demand better systems at restaurants and airlines. Because I do think it gets confusing when we say there's all of these different things that you need to accommodate for. Why not just have strong systems to begin with? When someone says, just trust me, I can't eat something, okay, we got it. So I do think, we're far from that stage where we're coming together. It seems like very segmented communities. But it's one of the best parts of my job is getting to connect with people in the religious diet community, to food allergy, to to vegetarian diets, and realize what's important to them, what is their truth with trying to stay safe and why, and just trying to provide some products that will help them.
Yeah. And you see that we all think the same.
Yeah.
If you actually do come out, like, we're all thinking the same. It's just we manage it maybe a bit differently, but we all think the same. We all don't want to be alone. We all find it hard at the beginning. Like, you know, there's so many similarities between our communities, and I think that comes back to it. I really think it is about the person. Like, as long as you have to connect to the person to realize, like, I don't have gluten as one of my allergens, but I am more fascinated with the celiac community now because I've realized how massive it is, and I want to learn way more about it. I learn more about a different food restriction because that's just not what I have to manage. So it's just very easy. But your Equal Eats does everything.
Almost.
But they have cards for, you know, halal, they have cards for celiac, they have cards for one allergy, for multiple allergies, you know. And even like talking about business, like, your cards has changed my life. And I say this online all the time, but they actually have changed my life. I remember that I used to make my own little cards. Hi, chef, and my allergies. These are super serious because I worked in the food and like the bar industry, and my manager was like, I saw someone come in with this card before, like they made it themselves, and I just took it down to the kitchen and it was wonderful. And I was like, oh, really? So I decided to make it myself. And then when I discovered Equal Eats and I used the phone app, I'm like that person who's back in the day where it was only the phone. Like, it's just changed my life because I feel way more confident talking to someone, because I'm not going, nuts, I have an allergy to nuts, and then they write nuts, and I'm like, and sesame, and then they write sesame, and lentils, and then they write lentils, you know, like, it's like the list, and then they get to like third and they go, like, it's that, like, they're tired, and I'm like, I get that, but I'm scared that the writing it down, it hasn't translated to the kitchen, and blah, blah, blah. So the card is so clear. Like, it's just so clear. They can see all of it. There's never a anymore. And they go, okay, I'm just going to take this. Can I take this to the kitchen? And do you need it back? And it's just, that is in every restaurant. It's the same thing. And I think even though we said, you know, we're not at that stage of completely trusting people, I still will go out to eat. And I have been going out to eat my whole life. Anything to make that process easier is a game changer. Right. Like, even sometimes I go into restaurants and I might not think I'm going to eat, but I go in and I hand the card, they hand it to the chef, and if they say yes, great. If they say no, no. But I get to just hand a card before I even sit down and say, can I eat here? And then they go and check, and if it's not, then okay, let's move on to the next place. And it doesn't mean that I have to go in, I have to sit down, I have to tell them my allergies. It's another layer of feeling a little bit more confident in that space.
Absolutely. This card, they have a specific job for us. And I think that's important to frame. This is not the whole solution. You know, we still need to speak up for ourselves. We still need to not take adventurous risks with foods on menu and order smart. We have to have the conversations. Food service needs to have training in place. They need to have systems to prevent cross-contact and contamination. So this absolutely plays a role, but you still need to self-advocate. You still need your epinephrine. You still need to know what to do in an emergency. And the main value, you know, we have the translations on the other side. So we have 50 different languages, which, you know, we deserve to travel. We deserve to see the world and have that type of dining out experience on some type of form while we travel. We need to eat in different countries. So it's definitely more challenging, but this at least provides a little bit more of a gate for us to just do what other people do, travel, eat, enjoy, and not feel limited in our lives.
You have traveled many a places. Yeah. You have lived many a places. What do you feel is like the reason why you travel? Because a lot of people, I think, say it's too scary going to a country that they don't speak the language. How do they know emergency services? Like, you know, all of these things. There's always a barrier to go. So why do you do it?
The adventure. I woke up in London today. That's really cool for me.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I just like love the smells, the sights, the sounds. Which way do I look when I'm crossing a street? These little things. Going to China, the culture there. Going to islands in the Caribbean and just the vibe and the music and all of these things are just so different for me. And I think once you get a taste of it, at least for me, I just got that travel bug, and I just love to see different places and how they operate and what the culture is. So, it's not about food. I do not travel for food at all. You should see my suitcase, lots of snacks. Um, but it's that sense of adventure. I think it all comes down to feeling alive, and I think for a lot of parents out there before kids. We have the Allergy Travels group that I admin, and the number one thing that people say when they're joining, I used to travel before the diagnosis. And that makes me sad, but also gives me hope that people just need that encouragement that it's still doable. Don't cross it off. But we all instinctively, for the most part, love travel for different reasons. And I think it's just finding that way to do it that makes you comfortable. And whether you just bring a suitcase full of food like I've done in the past, and food is just not an issue, you can just go and be spontaneous, or you want to try restaurants and do that level too. I think it's all about just starting with your comfort zone and just slowly expanding it to the point where you go to an English-speaking country and then you try a non-English-speaking country, and then someday maybe you'll end up in China as well, as a fish out of water, but really enjoying the heck out of it and being proud and empowered, knowing that it's possible. But I think you got to start small, and just practice over time. I think it's easier.
Now, mostly in Europe, if you say you have a nut allergy, they will take nuts off the menu and they won't serve them, and they'll make an announcement. But that doesn't happen in every country. When you do fly, and if they serve nuts or anything like that, how do you manage the anxiety that comes from being in the air with your allergen?
Yeah, it really all comes back to self-advocacy and knowing the risk. It's encouraging that some planes are taking nuts off, but that does not do anything for the people with milk allergy and egg allergy and wheat allergy. So there's a lot of focus on that, which is a start, but it really does nothing for my mustard allergy, which is increasing every year. So it really comes back to how do I keep myself safe and keep my anxiety in check? And that is bringing my own food, never, ever eating airline food, never trusting that process. And then minding my space around me. So I do the old tray table wipe. I always have some wipes on me. And I have bought a few drinks now for people sitting right beside me where they bring out their own snacks, and there's the trail mix, the mixed nuts. And I need to use my voice. I need to say something. And it's hard. I get that. And if that's the one reason why we don't travel, are tough conversations, that's something we need to practice. And trust me, it works. When I just, with a friendly smile, do my sweet talking of like, oh, hey there, how are you doing today? Oh, wow, what a snack. I tell you what, I'm one of those guys that have a lot of food allergies. I'd be more than happy to buy you whatever drink you want today if you don't open those nuts. And I remember talking to a driller off of the coast of Norway, big rugged guy who was just like, oh, no problem, man. Will you have a beer with me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then we talked about food allergies for an hour together. So I just think, we have these situations in our head that might seem scary, but we can do it. And the worst case scenario is that we might have to ask to move seats if that guy says, no, I want my nuts.
Which has happened to me before.
Yeah.
I think, talking to the steward is the biggest thing, because then if that does happen, it's not like you have to then have that conversation. Yeah. You've already had that conversation.
Absolutely.
I've now been starting to put it on to my booking. So I've called them, the airline, beforehand, and I said, can you put it on my booking? And then I actually get an extra bag for medication. So I get an extra carry-on, which now everything costs money. So it's great. But I think, like you said, the voice, for me, I use scripts. So you just pulled that out, right? Is probably what you do say, and it's something in your head that this is what I will say. I use a script, so I will write it down, and I will repeat it to myself often, and then when I'm on the plane I will repeat it to myself, because then if that does happen, I'm not going, God, what do I say? I've got it already in my head and I know what I'm saying, and I say it with a clear voice because I've already practiced it. It's basically like I'm doing a play. Like I have to practice my script. And my mum did that. My mum gave me scripts for peer pressure, not allergies, but about like, what do you do if they say you should have this? And I go, okay, what do I say? And so I had a script ready in case. Having that understanding that that could happen and what to do if it does is the most important part. I think the fear beforehand, going, oh my God, what if they open nuts? Okay, what if they do? Let's figure it out. What would happen if they did? Okay, now what would happen if they say, no, I'm still going to eat that? Okay, what would happen? What would happen if the steward, like, it's the whole process of like anxiety releases once you know what to do in that moment.
Absolutely. And I also think just keeping the risk factor in check is helpful too. I've read study after study, and they've done some really interesting research about the real risk of allergens on airplanes and reactions. And it's very, very low. Of course, there's a risk. And even if it's a small risk, we need to be really mindful of that. But studies where, just even aerosolized peanut dust, of how incredibly hard that would be to happen in real life for that to cause a serious reaction. This comforts myself on a plane, knowing that not 200 people are not going to be opening up a bag of peanuts at the same time on this flight. There's some things in place. So I do keep things in check in terms of what's the real risk. And I think that's important for people to go on websites like FAIR or Food Allergy UK and read up of what are the facts, because I think it's really easy for us to go down what if scenarios and it gets overblown in our own heads. And I'm guilty of that.
Just realizing how in your head will you manage it. And then once you go, okay, actually, no, I know what to do because that is what I would do if I was at home.
Yep.
Then you'd be okay.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, using your voice, like making sure that you do speak up, because I have had times where I don't speak up to the person next to me, and I'd have to go sit at the back of the plane all flight because I didn't say anything to the person next to me. And it's like, that ruined my trip. But I could have said something, and then potentially they could have said, oh, okay, fine, and then it'd be done.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
And and I also think it just, you go through periods of your life. Like now I don't say anything until I see a nut, but I used to say to someone right next to me every flight, I have nuts. If you have nuts, please don't have them. So it just depends on how you are. Yeah. Do you think that if we had equal eats 20 years ago, you'd still be getting the same feedback? Like, as in, we have so many more people now, and we have the restaurants and the people know about allergies a lot more, that they can understand this card and they can understand what to do with it. But I feel like 20 years ago, for me, like, I was kicked out of restaurants for having allergies. Yeah. Do you think that even if that had been a possibility, it would have been fed back the same way it does now?
No, I don't. I agree. I think, 20 years ago, it doesn't matter how you communicate 20, 30 years ago. It was still trying to convince somebody that this is real. And now society knows about it. And we've just been with wind now behind us in terms of people knowing that it's serious and recommending this type of product, that this is a best practice. Where 20 years ago, this was not a practice. So, things have changed. Happy to help at this time and place, and really starting to look at how do we be part of the next solution of how do we utilize what we're growing here as a communication tool for consumers and influence food service based on numbers and power of mass, of how do we get restaurants to change the way they operate, because it's silly to ignore our business now. It actually looks dumb if you want to ignore, if we look at dietary restrictions, geez, it's getting up to 60, 70% of the population. And if you don't want that business, good luck. Yeah. Good luck. But we're here with a very strong community that we're growing to help influence that change. So that's kind of our where we're looking for next steps of how do we be part of a more well-rounded solution for our community.
Yeah. And for you personally, do you feel like you've made an impact?
Whew, I'm very modest.
I know, and I want to get it out of you. I want to see how you feel about it.
I love what I do. I'm very fulfilled. And if people appreciate what I do, that feels really good. I am a musician that does very selfless music about food allergy education. I've gone into 1,000 schools now and educated tons and tons of kids about something I wish someone told my friends about when I was young. That feels really good. And that's something that I will never be a superstar doing, but I just love it. I love being part of something that helps. And
You are a superstar, though, to us.
oh, come on.
No, but you are. You said in an interview that, like, you basically are the only one that does it. And, like, that is stardom. Like, you are, people want you to come to their schools to do it. Like, that is a star. Like, you are, and even with these cards, like, now, yes, there are some people who are doing similar things, but you are a leading example in that realm, and you are a leading example in food allergy awareness and advocacy, and so you are a superstar.
It's really kind. And, I'm really proud, don't get me wrong, but I do this for our community. I do this because I know what it's like in those early stages, every stage of dealing with food allergies, and we just deserve better. And I feel like I'm really fortunate to be in a position to have the knowledge, the sense, the processes to make a difference. And I'm just trying to embrace that and do it well. So as, coming back to the start, I realized that more of me is a really vital part of growing a company and growing a mission to help all of us stay safer. So something to watch in the months to come of more Kyle online.
I'm excited. I like to round out episodes with just, how is your mental health at the minute?
I'm 2 weeks removed from a really severe reaction, so it's a vulnerable place right now. If you asked me 10 days ago, it would probably be very different. Really, really bad reaction, and I was very quick to pivot from literally crying the next day because it's just so emotional when you have the whole hospital, all of this stuff, to patting myself on the back. And that really helped me get over those feelings of, like, I rocked the treatment. And I'm really proud. Where I could have waited. I could have just, like, okay, I'm going to drink water and see. I was like ground control. Like, you, call emergency services. You, get the kids out of here. I got to drop my pants in epi. Let's do that. And then ambulance came in 5 minutes. I was full of a lot of adrenaline in 7 minutes. And everything was okay. And it was a really bad reaction. It just closed my throat immediately. And 14 days later, I'm back. I'm normal. So my mental health is really good. And thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I'm so happy that we got to do this. Like, it was such a whirlwind. And yeah, I'm just happy that we get to see each other this weekend, but also that we've had this conversation because I really wanted to do it in person. Yeah. And yeah, I'm just so happy.
I love that we got to talk about everything and anything today. It was awesome.
I'm such a tandem person.
That was great. I really enjoyed it.
And yeah, thank you for being really open and vulnerable and sharing yourself, because I think people would really like to see that side of you. So
awesome. Yeah. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Whew.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you did it, because I feel like my last attack, I did that too. I was like, immediately I felt something. See, like gut instinct.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
And
I had about 10, 20 seconds of sheer panic. Like, because this was the first reaction I had where it was confirmed. It was like sometimes like, oh, did I eat something? Yeah. My buddy told me, like, oh shit, that has cashews. And my world just dropped. This is happening. And then I started feeling it. And it was the sense of doom. It was all the horrible.
Feeling of this is happening again.
Horrible. Like, the worst feeling in the world.